Hello, happy Sunday. What a beautiful, beautiful day it is. I've just shared some stories and posts from our beautiful wellness morning that we hosted in the garden this morning. So lucky because the weather this summer has definitely not been the best, but we've been blessed today. When I decided to host this event, I thought I need to have a backup plan if I'm going to host this wellness morning in the garden, because for any of you guys that are in the UK or even in Scotland, the weather's been a bit iffy. It's been very hormonal, a bit like a woman, a bit up and down, but we're blessed today with beautiful sunny weather. So whatever you're up to today, I hope you are getting outside and just enjoying getting out into nature. Get your feet out, that's what I always say. Get your feet onto the grass, get out into nature, because honestly, it really does do wonders for the mind, the body and the soul. But I just wanted to come on here live because I feel really inspired just to come on and share some thoughts around embracing change. I text my friend Michelle because she's coming back round and we are going to go down to the beach and we're going to do a dip in the water. She's just arrived and I said to her, I'm going to go and do a live. I was like, so if you come into the garden, that's what I'm doing, because I sometimes have these moments where I just feel really inspired. Like the lives that I do on here, I always have an intention of what I want to speak about, but I never have a plan, because I think when I have this this kind of I don't know, I just get this, oh my god, I've got something that I want to say from the heart. I know that I need to come on and share. So happy Sunday everybody, hope you're all good, hope you have had a wonderful week, and I just wanted to come on and really speak from the heart about embracing change. So as I mentioned, we had a wellness event this morning that I hosted in my garden, and we had some really lovely guests that came along, and it was such an intimate space. So as many of you will know, if you know me or if you follow me, we've been running these wellness events that we run through actually the Arbonne community, so the business and brand that I build my business with for, I can't actually remember. I wonder if Michelle can chime in if she can hear me. I don't know if she's listening, she's just literally in my kitchen, but I think it's been about, how long have we been running wellness events for now?
I guess it's only been 18 months.
18 months connection. Around about 18 months. And actually we were sharing this morning and I was saying, for me, and this follows on from the topic of embracing change, it was around 2022 where I kind of started to look at really the way that I was running my business, and I really wanted to invite in more of a space where I could bring people together through community. I think like many people through COVID and through lockdowns, we experienced this period in our lives where we paused, and I would say for me that is really where I've experienced the most amount of change, and it actually gave me this time and space to actually pause and be like, what do I want from my life? And I know this sounds quite deep, but it made me realise that the way that I wanted to be as a person and show up as a woman and also run my business, I wanted to do it in a very differentiated way. And I feel like I've been on this journey, especially over this last year, of really leaning into doing more of what brings me joy and less of what doesn't, and running these events both through the wellness events through my Arbonne business, but also the Vibe Tribe empowerment events that I run through that pillar of my brand and business, has been two places where I've really leaned into doing things that bring me joy. So we spoke about this morning embracing change, and I've written down here the definition of change, and I spoke about this morning, is an act or process which something becomes different. And the definition of transformation by definition is extreme radical change. And I feel like in life we can resist change and transformation so much. We talk about it a lot, it's out there in the online world, but I think, and I'm speaking from my own experience, we really resist it because change is scary. And during this event we spoke about change and transformation, and one of the guests who came along, who's an incredible woman that I work with called Eva, she really shared her story of change and transformation. I shared my own story of change and transformation, and also Michelle shared hers. And in terms of our stories and our journeys are very different, what we all shared is when you're going through change, and Michelle, who actually is a change expert, described when you're going through change, it can feel a bit like this. And as you're embracing that change, you can kind of feel like you're in a place where you're in the fog. And right now I'm studying to become an intuitive psychology coach, and as part of that process they call it being in the shadow. So when you're trying to create change in your life, it really involves a process of you actually starting to really question a lot of the habits, the beliefs, and everything that kind of I'm just smiling because Zana's just said happy Sunday, you've been out in the sun too. Thanks so much, Zana. Zana's another incredible woman that is on the intuitive psychology coaching program that I'm on just now. And yeah, like when we are going through change, like if you're really embracing it, change can feel really scary. And I look back at the last kind of 5 years of my life, but also the last year, where change has felt really scary as I've started to really embrace this different version of myself. My nervous system and my identity has tried to cling on to what it always knew, which was the familiar. And actually, again, to go behind the science of this, your nervous system, so it holds on to and clings to what we know. So if you're someone who has always been used to being in a state of stress and going, like keeping yourself busy, to almost not allow yourself the time to sink into a space where you actually allow yourself to feel, to actually tune into your own emotions and your own voice and your own feelings. I think so often in life, especially the digital world that we live in, we keep ourselves busy, we're on our phones constantly, you know, we've got podcasts on in the background, we've got Netflix on, and we don't allow ourselves the stillness to sit and actually ask ourselves, and this is going to sound deep, but really think of that, like, what do I want to be and who do I want to be and what actually makes me happiness? And I feel like for me this has been a journey, yes, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, but in the last sort of 12 years, especially 6 months, as I've been training to become an intuitive psychology coach, I've started to really invite in more stillness into my life so that I can really allow myself to tune in and be like, okay, what actually makes me happy? And I think that's part of embracing change, because actually in order to go through change and transformation, we actually need to ask ourselves, first of all, what do I actually want? And one thing I really love doing through all the different pillars of my business, like my business is built through community, through both Arbor and the Vibe Tribe. I love bringing women together and really creating spaces where women can embrace change, but also see other women who are walking on that journey of change and transformation. And that's something that I'm extremely passionate about. So today was such a powerful reminder, because it was a really intimate event, and you know, all of the guests really opened up about the different journeys that they're on, and you know, maybe looking at different parts of their life where they want to create change. And I think change can happen in different areas. You know, we've got our health, we have our relationships, we have our career, and then we have ourselves, and obviously family as well, and that falls under relationships. It's thinking all these different kind of pillars and facets of our life. And for me, change started with my health. In 2019 I went on this transformational journey where I started to change my health physically, mentally and emotionally. And then when I made that change, it gave me the strength and then the courage, and I suppose the strength, most importantly, to make other changes in my life in terms of my relationships, who I was surrounded by. And then really in the last couple of years especially, I've been changing the way that I run my business, and yeah, just letting go of things that no longer align and inviting in more things that do. And Michelle and I were actually having a conversation last night about all of this, like really what are we saying yes to and what are we saying no to, and what are we no longer tolerating. You know, we're personal power, I always speak about with my clients, is you really taking radical responsibility for your life, for your happiness, for your health. And if you look at different areas of your life, your health, your relationships, your career, yourself, if there's areas where you're not happy, like radical responsibility is you taking ownership for changing those things. So I don't know if that makes sense. Like I said, I come on these lives and really just want to speak from the heart, but I would just invite you to think of, are you embracing change or are you resisting it? Because for me, from my own experience, the more that I resisted the change that somewhere in my mind and body I knew that I wanted to make, and I think of all the change in my life. Like, I feel like I'm 33, but I genuinely feel like in my lifetime I've lived 100 years, because there's been so much radical points of change. But every time I went through change, the more I resisted it, the more it felt like I was in this crisis of loss of identity. Whereas the more that I embraced the change, and I would say part of embracing change is, for me, it's been surrounding myself with people who have been able to support me with the changes that I wanted to make. So for example, want to be healthier? Surround yourself with more people who are embodying the health habits, the rituals, the traits that you too want to maybe instill in your life. Want to be wealthier? Surround yourself with more people who are embodying the habits and the rituals that create the form of wealth. Sorry, it keeps cutting out because my connection. One thing I always say is wealth and success look different for each person. Want to be happier? Who do you know that you admire, that you think the way that they live their life, like their habits, how they show up, their rituals, that aligns with the type of happiness that I want to have? So I think community and your environment is such a huge part of embracing change, but also I think just sitting with yourself. And I feel like practices like meditation, yoga, are really powerful practices to invite stillness in, so that you can actually tune into all of these things. So just wanted to come on and share that. I feel like this morning for me, even delivering this event has given me so much reflection point in terms of, am I embracing change and transformation? Because I feel like even though I've experienced so much change, I'm also in this next season of like the next wave of like change. And I'm going to go down to the beach now with Michelle. Yay! And it's so sunny, it's so warm, I can't believe it.
That's why I'm in shorts now.
Yeah. And
hello!
We are going to go and we're going to have a wee dip in the water. But just before we jump off, Michelle, we'll do some more lives this week, I think.
Yeah.
But what would you, as a change expert, what advice would you give to anyone that's watching that wants to really embrace change in their life? Like, you worked in change management for how many years?
7 years.
Yeah.
My first career, yeah. First part of my career.
So what would you say to people who want to embrace change, and maybe they're feeling that resistance that some of us or many of us meet when we're experiencing change?
I would say this is what I said today at the wellness event. It's like, when you're going through any change, you sort of are here where you are right now, and then you want to sort of go over to this place. But what happens when you change is you go through this massive like dip to get back over to the other side, and actually you might have multiple of those before you actually get to where you want to be or make the change you want to make. And in between there, what are all the things you can do to help lessen the dip? Because if you think about a little platform, you're going from this platform over to here, but there's a big gap where you can literally fall down to the dark depths of nowhere. And it came up today with a few people that they've tried to make a change, whether it's like giving up sugar or giving up alcohol, and what happens is they did it for a period of time and then they stopped, and then they couldn't get back into where they wanted to be, or they want to go over there but they're too scared because of maybe their friendship circles and certain things that they're used to doing over and over and over. They're scared that they're going to lose that, they're going to lose friendships, all these different things. So I would say, like, in the middle, in order to like lessen the dip, because it can be really actually quite depressing if you go right down. So like, what are all the things you can do in the middle? So number one, and I know Rachel talks about this a lot, but be surrounded by people that are where you're wanting to go, because your current circle might not be wanting to make that change with you, and they might, you might come up against some resistance from them, but it's nothing to do with you. It's just they would never do what you're about to embark on. So you've got to have the right people around you. So that's a leadership of, these people or this person actually has done this, I know I could do it, so I'm maybe going to spend a bit more time with them and ask questions and work out what I can do in making this change. So sort of like experts in wellness or whatever it is you want to change. Then you've got to get the tools and the processes in place, because like we were talking about sugar, for example, and one of the women was saying, I just go to get one bit of sugar or like have one glass of wine, but before I know it, the whole thing's gone, the whole bottle of wine or the whole block of chocolate. So it's just taking a moment without judging yourself and saying, okay, what's the trigger? When are you going to grab that? and then going to the root cause rather than sort of beating yourself up that you just keep doing the same thing, because you want to understand what that trigger is. So have the awareness to understand the trigger, and then what are the processes and tools you can put in place, and how can you actively change habits, because that's all you're doing. So we spoke about the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he talks about like you've actually probably got a bunch of good habits. So how do you sort of attach the habit that you want to change onto a good habit, or elements of that new habit? So it might just be for the chocolate or the sugar, you might end up just changing to dark chocolate. So instead of having a whole bar of like white chocolate, which I used to do,
or dairy milk
like all the time, you can be like, I'm actually going to go for the dark chocolate. And now in the beginning that will feel uncomfortable and weird, and your taste buds won't be used to it, but you've got to like see through the uncomfortableness of it. But then you might end up just eating a whole bar of dark chocolate, which, you know, is not ideal, but it's actually slightly better than what you're doing currently, right? So you've got to have the awareness, and then what are the tools and processes or habits that you could change. And the only reason you can sort of change these tiny wee habits is if you have the awareness, and you have maybe other good habits you can attach that to, or sometimes the awareness is just enough. And I would say, like, yeah, it's having the right people around you, being aware of your habits, because everything is habits. Everything comes down to habits. Discipline and systems and structure, like even looking at other elements of why you get triggered. Is it something in you, or is it the kids? Is it like a partner? Is it like some form of, or is it your work? So a lot of people just like eat and drink because of their work situation. And so that's quite tough to look at, because you're like, I actually know that I don't want to be in this job or whatever it is. So that's a much deeper sort of, you know, place you need to go to make the change. But again, you just do it bit by bit by bit. You can't do everything overnight. You can't be like, I'm just going to jump straight to the other platform. You have to go through these many sort of depths to get to the platform you want to go on. And you might get to one platform and then decide you want to just stay on it. Like for me with alcohol, and I shared this today, like I did it as an experiment. So I decided in 2017 I was going to give up alcohol for a year as an experiment. Now, in that period of time, I literally loved it. Like, the first couple of months was a bit uncomfortable because I was used to going to bars and hanging out with people. And then I realised, I was like, I don't even want to be in these bars. These people are talking absolute shit. Like, and I knew by the third drink it was all going to go like crazy, because by the way, you hit euphoria after 3 drinks, so actually you should stop there rather than keep on going, because you think it's going to go up but it actually starts coming down. So that's a little thing I found out in that year. But yeah, and I realised, I was like, oh, I don't want to hang about in these bars. And then I was like, oh, actually I don't really want to hang about with these people. And then you sort of go, oh no, what am I going to do? Because these friends might have been your friends for such a long time. They might be childhood friends or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I just can't go back to that. Like, I just feel too good to do that, and I've got to look after myself. So I ended up finding a whole bunch of new friends. I started getting up earlier. I started doing yoga. So there was just this ripple effect. But in that year, as an experiment, I just loved it so much that I continued on that platform. And, you know, and I know many people have done that and then coming off the platform. But, you know, I just think, yeah, it will be tough, and you probably will shed a few tears, especially if the circle of people around you right now are not displaying the behaviours of the platform you want to go to, or the change you want to make. And that can be tough for some people, but I can assure you, like, having gone through this with multiple things, not just alcohol but other things, it's just so worth it, because you feel incredible, and you are the best version of yourself, and in turn you're the best version for your partner, the best version for your children, the best version for your family, and for the goals or dreams that you have. Like, I achieved more in 1 year in my business in Arbonne than I did in the previous 5, right? And that was just like giving up alcohol for 1 year as an experiment. And so would I change that? Absolutely not, because what I created in that year, it gave me choices, it gave me time, it gave me more money, so there's just all of this thing. You've got to really think about, like, what is it I want? Can I make this change? Do I have the right people around me, or can I just trust that the right people will come? And what we were saying today is, once you start to change, you'll just attract those people that are on the same wavelength. And even sometimes, if you're just even thinking about it, the person today was just thinking about it, and I was like, you've attracted us to, like, today, because you're wanting to make this change, and you needed to hear from someone that's actually on that other platform. And she left like so like, yep, that's it, I'm gonna start my Mediterranean diet today, and I really want to give up alcohol, I've been thinking about it for a while. And she felt more comfortable because she knew there was other people, like not in her life now, but have just been introduced to her, that she could see that she could be friends with that don't drink. And she actually was saying like, I don't know anyone in my life that doesn't drink. And I was like, well, you've just met someone that doesn't. So even if you're even thinking about it and have this urge, people start to come into your life, situations start to come into your life, but you've got to pay attention and actually take the action, because all these things will come in, but you've got to grab the opportunity, you've got to grab that moment. So yeah, I could talk about change all day, but essentially you've got to have the right processes, tools, people, all of that in place in the middle, so that you don't have this big dark depression dip and then on the way to what you're hoping to change, you just incrementally build all these things, get all this support, get all these resources, and then you start to make, it might be a wee bit of a dip, but you start to get to the other side.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we should do a podcast.
I know, we actually need to do a podcast this week.
We do.
You and me, right? We'll do a podcast this week.
All around embracing change. So yeah, just to kind of wrap up, I would encourage you just to think about like, what change are you resisting, and also what change are you embracing. And we've showed examples through us here of health and relationships, but I think it's just asking yourself like, where are you continuing to stay stuck in a situation, whether it be in your health and your relationships and your career and your life and yourself and your own beliefs and habits, that isn't serving you and allowing you to powerfully step into that compelling future that you want to create. And taking that radical responsibility is actually like the awareness around what's not working, because I think so often we can just get our heads buried in the sand with this is how it is. And one thing that I love doing is just empowering people through these community events that we run, just to invite in the change that they want to make and actually pause and take space to bring the awareness to their lives. So
that's a good point actually, because I think today, if those women never took the time, and they decided, which was great, to actually just be still and listen,
brought the awareness,
they probably wouldn't have been like, right, okay, I'm going to make this change now. So like, that's why we are so passionate about creating spaces where especially women can just be with themselves, because we know the answers. Like, women especially, our intuition is so strong, and sometimes we don't listen to it. But when you create spaces of stillness and education, I would say it just empowers people. So it's actually so powerful those women came, because
knowledge and awareness. And I can see that Kath is on as well in this live, so hi.
Hello.
So I'm going to wrap this up, but I feel like we're going to have more conversations like this week.
Get ready for the Michelle and Rachel show.
Michelle's dog sitting down here, so it's been so nice because we're going to spend more time. We're going to do a podcast together. We're going to do more events together. We said that.
I think after today we're like, we really need to do a retreat.
We're going to do a retreat.
So if you're up for it, let us know if you've got any ideas, venues, things you want.
And I feel like what we delivered today, we could even do that in an online capacity for those that aren't local.
Totally.
Michelle's a Yoga Nidra practitioner, and I shared some stories that you can watch on what Yoga Nidra, the benefits. So every time, even I didn't actively participate in this one because I was busy, but even just facilitating it, I get so much from it, and you feel it, and I just feel calmer. So all powerful stuff. So if anything we've shared resonates, feel free to drop either of us a message. And just embrace change. Like, it can feel scary, it can feel uncertain at times, but what I can say, having went through multiple of these different periods in my life, on the other side of what can feel like the dip is just so much abundance, and I feel like connection with yourself when you embrace change.
And it is the constant. I remember when I first heard this in my work environment, it was like, change literally as the only constant. So why not develop the skills, education and tools that every time a change comes, whether you're inviting it in or not, you actually have the capacity to just move through it. Because it's just like, there's always going to be something.
Absolutely. And if you've just joined, make sure you go back and watch this, because that was a great wee impromptu live. Right, we're going to go down to the beach for a dip.
Yay!
And have an amazing Sunday, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.